Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the calendar council meeting of August the 27th. It's 9 a.m. And I'd like to stand and lead you in the pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
With our society the way it seems to be today, thank you all for participating. Has the agenda been posted?
Yes.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Alexander?
Here.
Mr. Fowler?
Here.
Mr. Bledsoe?
Here.
Ms. Chambers?
Present.
Ms. Lassiter?
Here.
Ms. Piper?
Here.
Quakenbush?
Present.
Mr. Hughes?
Here. Okay, I need a roll call for the approval or a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second. Moved by Jessica, second by Scott. Roll call.
Mr. Ballard?
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe?
Yes.
Ms. Chambers?
Yes.
Ms. Lassiter?
Yes.
Ms. Piper?
Yes.
Mr. Alexander?
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I lost.
Now we'll need to proceed with approval, motion of approval for the minutes of July the 23rd.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Larry, second by Jessica. Roll call. Well, I guess I should ask, are there any additions or corrections? Seeing none? Seeing none? Roll call.
Mr. Bledsoe?
Yes.
Ms. Chambers?
Yes.
Ms. Lassiter?
Yes.
Ms. Piper?
Yes.
Mr. Alexander?
Yes.
Mr. Ballard?
Yes.
Quakenbush?
Abstain. Next item on the agenda is a request from the county clerk to have a guest make a presentation on electronic poll books.
Good morning, councilors. This morning I want to introduce Mike Miller from No Inc. He is going to do a brief, give you a brief talk on the importance of the poll pads, what the poll pads can do for our elections, and then after the meeting he will be set up in the commissioners conference room so that any of the councilors that would like to can actually get a hands-on view of what they'll do and how they'll help us out. So Mr. Miller, if you want to come over here and kind of give them your,
Stand here, or do I need to speak to that?
probably need to speak into that so they can get you on record.
Okay.
Not to be rude to you, but we negotiated this time limit, so 10 minutes is it.
I'll do my best. Okay, so thanks, Rick. My name is Mike Miller. I'm actually president and co-owner of Microvote company. Many of you are probably familiar with. So we're based out of Indianapolis and have been for almost 40 years. Our primary business is selling and supporting voting systems. Our system is in place, of course, here in Delaware County. We also sell and support an electronic poll book that's manufactured and designed and manufactured from a company in St. Louis. It's called the Poll Pad. So we have 51 counties using our voting system in the state. We now have 51 counties who use the electronic poll book that we sell and support, which is the Poll Pad. That is of about 65 counties or so in the state that are using electronic poll books. So now we've gotten to the point over the last couple of years where the majority of counties in the state of Indiana are using electronic poll books, and the vast majority of those, of course, are using our system, which I'll show you now. I can move over here and show you, right? All right. Okay, so I want to just demonstrate how the system works. I've got all the hardware up here. So each check-in station that's sent to the polls is encased in one of these cases, and it consists of a wireless printer and, most importantly, an iPad. All right. So this is the only electronic poll book in the state that uses the reliability and the functionality of Apple software and hardware. So just give you a kind of a quick demonstration as to how this works for poll workers. is this is an app on an iPad, all right? And so I'm gonna sign in here, then I'll turn around here and show you what I'm doing. So in the morning, poll workers are required on both parties to sign in order to access the system. And then all day long, they will be, for the most part, scanning driver's licenses as a way of identifying voters, all right? So just to show you what this interface looks like, I'm gonna give you a driver's license scan here. So it uses the video camera in the iPad in order to take a picture of the voter's driver's license. And then brings the voter up. Okay, so and it just essentially prompts poll workers through every single thing they need to ask voters in order to check them in. This first question is asking the voter to confirm that their address is correct, and then it just displays the voter information. Essentially, this is data that would normally print on a paper poll book, and essentially we're just displaying it here on an iPad. So the poll worker is going through the process of checking in a voter. This is where they would capture a signature for the voter, so I can just make a fake signature here and move on. This is the screen where the poll workers are going to compare the signature just captured from a voter, and they'll compare it to this box here on the top would be populated with the signature for that voter that's on file in the statewide voter registration system, which is a similar process to what they're doing now. And then they're going to tap submit and process this voter. I have this set up to encode to the activation card for our voting system, so the poll worker is instructed to enter that card, and then it processes the check-in and prints a ticket. Okay. So this portion is optional, but we think highly valuable, because what this does is now that voter's specific ballot style information, and if it's early voting, their unique identifier for retraction purposes, is written to this card. This card is taken over with this ticket. The ticket has the voter's information on it in regards to their precinct, any other pertinent information that comes right out of the statewide voter registration system regarding any split, if they're an in-town or out-of-town voter. If it's a primary election, we've captured their party selection on the system, and that prints here as well. So the poll worker then takes these two items over to the voting machine, puts the card in, the card will activate the right ballot for the voter. And they can confirm that on the ticket, and then they can let the voter vote. So the benefits of that, of course, are that the speed of check-in is much faster than paper. There's no more flipping through paper poll books locating a voter. The accuracy of check-in is incredibly increased because there's less likelihood that the poll worker is going to have the voter sign on the wrong line on the paper poll book, because it's generated that right voter based on driver's license scan. And then the voting machine side, it's activating the correct ballot each and every time. Currently, there's a manual process where the poll worker on a voting machine has to select a precinct. If there are multiple precincts in that polling location, they put a card in, they manually select the right precinct, then they manually select any splits, like in-town, out-of-town voters that may apply, or any district splits, and then they're manually selecting the right party. So this eliminates the time it takes for all of that, and then it also increases the accuracy of all that process of polling locations. So that was, I said a lot really fast right there. So that's a quick run through how the system works and a little background. Are there any questions?
I'm curious as to what happens if you have a discrepancy. Does that person step aside and they go on to the next person in line? Or?
It's discrepancies such as?
Something doesn't match.
So a couple scenarios would apply as paper poll books as well. So there can be scenarios where their driver's license, so they registered with a different name when they got the driver's license at the BMV than they did when they registered to vote. So this system, fortunately, unlike a paper poll book, will give the voter, the poll worker, a pop-up message to say a possible voter found, right? And then it'll steer them right to a manual search, or give them a list of search results that they can scroll through, making sure they have the driver's license right there and they can select the right voter. So for situations like that, this is most beneficial because it guides the poll worker through the process of confirming that is the correct voter. It also, in precinct level voting, there's all sorts of bells and whistles to this feature, one of which is, because we have counties throughout the state, I think it's approximately half and half, use electronic poll books, or either still voting precinct specific, and then we have about half counties are using this in vote center level. So precinct specific, one of the benefits to the county, of course, is currently if a voter shows up at the wrong polling location and they present their identification, poll worker is flipping through the paper poll book looking for that voter. That takes a while, and then they realize they're not there. So now what? So then they make a phone call to election headquarters. Somebody is looking up that voter in the statewide voter registration system when they get through, and then to locate the voter and to say, oh, that voter is at precinct XYZ, they vote at the Methodist Church across town. So that process with electronic poll books is eliminated because we import the entire county-wide voter registration file on every single one of these that are deployed, and only the voters registered to the precincts at that polling location can be processed, but every voter is going to come up even if they don't belong in that polling location, which essentially gives voters a lot more data. So a voter comes in, they can they scan their driver's license, they know with certainty that they are an active registered voter, but the display would look a little different. It would have a gray entry, it says wrong location. Their correct polling location is listed on this screen. They can also tap that voter, and then they can print directions to the printer and hand it to them. They can also text that voter turn-by-turn instructions right to their smartphone. So those kind of features eliminate the phone calls back at election headquarters. So now instead of redirecting voters, you can really kind of manage the more important phone calls that might be more relevant or more critical issues.
It's human nature to rebel against a new system. Do you have a specific program to educate and familiarize poll workers?
So we've done this a lot, and this is a system that we've been selling and supporting in the state for now over 6 years. So me and my team have a lot of experience in transitioning counties. We have 50-some counties worth of experience in transitioning counties from paper poll books to electronic poll books, and it frankly it's easier than you think, especially with something as familiar now as an iPad. So this is an intuitive electronic device that a lot of folks most folks are familiar with. They have one in their pocket. You know, functionally it works very similar to an iPhone. People have iPads around their house. So it's not a it's not a device that folks are not used to. So that goes well.
Anyone else?
What if someone doesn't have a driver's license?
Then there's a manual lookup option. So there are definitely some forms of valid identification that are not scannable, like a passport, for instance. So get back to that screen where I was at earlier. So here on this lookup screen, there's two options. I know you can't see this, but one option says to scan a barcode. The other one is just to do a manual entry. And if you do a manual entry, it prompts you to the last name field and then first name field, and then you can conduct a search manually. You get search results. The more characters you type in, the fewer search results you get, and then the poll worker just kind of scrolls through the search results, selects the voter, and then moves on.
I like going on Google if you don't know exactly what you want.
Yep, it's in there, and that's a process folks are familiar with, right? Scrolling through search results to find exactly what they want.
If you have two precincts voting in the same location, you have to have two separate iPads, or
Nope.
will they be combined?
Yeah, the way we program these is those two precincts are assigned to that polling location, and that's work that me and my team does ahead of each and every election, is preparing the central system for polling locations and for precinct assignments to polling locations. So once I take, let's say precincts 1 and 2 are assigned at Methodist Church, then on my system I assign precincts 1 and 2, and then the system automatically allows for any voters from those precincts to be processed, and then prohibits any other voters from being processed, but yet will allow them to know where their correct polling location is.
Well, that brings up another question we have on our agenda today, a resolution to consider for the clerk to do voting centers. What happens in that case? Where anybody can come into that center?
Yeah, well in that case things get a lot simpler as far as the preparation of, the preparation of electronic poll books and your voting machines is greatly simplified in vote centers because they're all identical, right? So in our vote center counties, every single voter can go to any polling location and vote. So we don't have to actually trouble with making certain that the right precincts are assigned to the right polling location. every voter is essentially active and can be processed on the electronic poll book. So that's a simple setting in our system that we just transition counties to vote centers up so that their polling locations are all ready to receive all of their voters. And then, of course, on the voting system, all your precincts would be listed on every single voting machine so that a voter, and the ballot that pertains to that specific voter is available at every single polling location in the county.
My question may be for Rick on this one. If we're currently not at vote centers, are you talking about implementing this before we would change to vote centers? And if so, I'm assuming it would take a lot more of these.
It's not gonna take a lot more. Yes, we're transitioning to the poll pads. Yeah, that's gonna be a request in the budget for next year. We can do the poll pads without the vote centers. Many counties do already. That'll, actually simplify things when we go to the vote centers. And it'll also help clean up some of our messes that we now have through voter registration and processing votes and printing the paper poll books and all that. So it'll help save us a little bit of money now. It'll help make things more efficient now. And then as we transition to vote centers, it'll definitely be better.
One more time, paper receipt, does that go with the voter?
No, so it's not a receipt, even though this is a receipt printer, and I still call this a receipt often. It's actually not a receipt. We call it a ticket. So, and it's just a tool. So this, it's a handy tool. It's a convenient tool because it has the voter's information on it, and it has all the information necessary regarding their specific ballot style. But no, typically the county retains those tickets through various processes. But no, it's not a receipt.
That seems to be an issue on the news as well. Local people would like to have a receipt. Is that
That's
possible?
already passed the State House, Ron. It's legislated by 2029 that our voting machines will have to. Well, we got a little time to save money to update them because we'll have to spend more money, but we will have paper receipt by 2029.
Okay, time's up.
All right. Get
Thank
stuff out of here.
Unless you have something else.
Thank you.
I don't know.
Thanks a lot.
He will be set up right after the meeting in the Commissioner's Conference Room.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're ready to move on to financial agenda.
County General Prosecutor, A109, Investigator, Grant, Fiscal Manager, $1,249.95. Total request $1,249.95.
Move to approve?
Second.
Moved by Jessica, second by Jane.
This is 100% reimbursable.
Okay. Any questions of the prosecutor? He's in the room. Roll call.
Ms. Chambers,
Yes.
Ms. Lassiter.
Yes.
Ms. Piper,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Ballard,
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes.
Plan Commission, A126, Building Commissioner, $36,721. Total request $36,721.
Move to approve?
Second.
Moved by Jessica. Is that you, Larry? Yes. Second by Larry.
Ms. Lassiter.
In Finance Committee, this was it's decided to come to full council. Basically, in essence, what we're doing is moving a part-time position to full-time in the building commissioner's office is what the action would be. And I think Marta was going to go back, and I think you guys all got emailed some 3 pages, I think, of additional information on what the cost would be.
Yeah. Does anyone need a hard copy of that, what I sent out to you?
If you've got one, I'll take one because I didn't print mine out.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And when I sent that out, Jane, do you want one?
Please. right?
My question is why the 36,000 when we only have a balance of a year?
Right, well, that's because the deadline for filing for council was sort of the day I was, after a month of not getting any responses, I'm going, oh, well, this will tell them what the annual salary would be. But in the material that I sent you, I actually, figuring that it'll take a couple of weeks for the, well, for the state to deal with it, and for me to post the job and do interviews and hopefully find someone, that the actual amount for 7 more pays would be $9,886.42.
Say that again, please.
Not, it's in the handout,
Oh, excuse me.
right there.
Oh.
This just salary, or does this include pipe and perk and insurance?
No, because I don't have separate line items for that in my budget.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit in finance, and that is in the commissioner's budget, and I think the feeling or the discussion was that there may be enough to cover that.
And I
If
have
we
talked
decide to
with,
Go ahead with it already.
sorry, I have talked with the commissioners about this, and they are 100% in favor and in support of this, knowing how important it is to maintain a building and permitting program for Delaware County. What, just for additional information, Steve Minnick told me this morning that if we do not have a building commissioner, for commercial projects, the state will come in and do inspections, and it's very, because they charge us, it's very expensive for them to come in and do inspections.
So you're saying you have 6,988 left in part-time to cover this? So all
Part
we
of
need to
it.
appropriate today is 2898.42?
Yes, depending on how you want to do that. I mean, to move that part-time money,
Back to
do
council.
I need to then file another request to transfer it from
Yes.
198 to,
Because in the 100 series, we have a local county ordinance that says you have to come to council in the 100 series.
I know that,
Well, I'm just,
yeah.
for the
Okay.
public to know.
That's why I'm here. So yes, that would be okay. I haven't figured out, well, no, that would, let's say I am lucky and I find someone, that would be enough to get them started, and then at the end of September, we could transfer the remainder, and then we'll be covered through 2019.
But we don't need the whole salary in there to run for the rest of the year, right?
Correct.
I've got written down 11,299 from the meeting.
Well, and that was based on 8 more pays, but it'll take a couple of weeks, number one, for
Yeah.
the state to deal with this, and number two, for me to go through a process of posting it, taking in applications, doing interviews, and then making a selection. And hopefully I'll have people that will be interested and qualified.
So I guess, Marta, if we went ahead with that, what would that number need to be to make sure that there was enough in there from now till the end of the year?
Well, if you're not talking about transferring out the part-time money,
Well, I think we would want to see the transfer of the
Yes.
part-time money.
right, so then, the new money would be $2,898.42.
So if my math is right, we need an amendment to the motion to reduce the amount by $33,822.58.
Yeah.
Somebody want to check me on that, Matt?
What was your amount again?
33,822.58.
33,822.58.
I'm traveling light today, I don't have my calculator.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's what we need for Jessica to amend her motion.
Sure, so I will move to amend my motion to reduce by $33,822.58.
Second.
Larry, second. Okay.
Which makes it 28,980.42, right?
Right.
Correct.
Now, I want to comment to my fellow council members that the building commissioner's office was created in the early 80s. During the time of desperation, when we were working 4 days a week in this county and doing a lot of other things, this department was kind of dissolved and put over into the plan commission director's responsibility with a part-time person. That department furnished secretarial help out of their staff. And so therefore, personally, when I vote, I'm voting to agree that this should be a full-time position, and I want to be sure my fellow council members understand that, because you have that in next year's budget, don't you?
No, because all of this happened after I submitted the budget. We'll have to deal with that
Oh, okay,
when we deal with budgets, so.
Sorry, I
Yeah,
haven't
it
looked
all
at it.
happened
okay,
after,
so we're gonna have to face that also.
right.
And that'll be 36,721 plus FICA and another
Well,
20%.
but that'll be in the commissioner's budget.
I know, but we still have to
Right.
allow for that when
Right.
we're considering,
Right.
we're considering another roughly 20%
Right,
on top of this in the overall budget.
right. And will, like I say, this will be worked out during budget, but currently the part-time budget line item in my budget is 24,128. That can be moved into the position, and then we'll obviously need extra, but
And that whole amount was for the building.
yes, yes,
So we'll be able to
yes,
move that over into new line item.
yes.
Okay.
Can you talk a little bit about the fees that, I know we talked about this at finance, but just for the rest of the council's benefit, they bring in fees, and from what we've talked about, you tell the story, I guess, rather than I.
Yes, the second page of what I handed out to you gives you sort of a 3-year comparison. There's not a set amount each year that we take in, but it comes from permit income and registration income, because in the early 80s, when they created the building department, they also created like a contractor's registration fee, and that's what that registration income is. And we send out reminders in November for everybody on our list to renew. And that, as you can see, and last year we had more registrations than in 2017, but that alone brings in 17,000, give or take. And then the permit income varies obviously based on the number and type of permits, but that is a little bit over 40,000. So together we're in the $55,000 to $60,000 range. It's all somewhat variable.
Pretty much, yeah. I took the liberty to pull the ordinance. Mr. Bledsoe happened to be a commissioner when it was amended in 2013. It's a 5-page ordinance plus 3 or 4 pages of the chronological fees. So it's been pretty much reviewed. Talked briefly about this morning with Commissioner Henry, and from what I can see here, it pretty much self-sustains itself with
It does.
with the new position.
Yeah, it will. With some to spend.
Well, the thing is, though, is you actually, out of your budget, supplement that department.
Yes, I do. I do.
So that has to be considered. That goes back to the general to help your budget, I guess.
Yeah.
Call for the vote.
Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Laster,
Yes.
Ms. Piper,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Ballard,
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe,
Yes.
Ms. Chambers,
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes. For the record, the motion carries as amended.
Thank you very much.
Good.
Thanks, Mark.
Sorry, I'm still trying to come up with her figures, so
Oh,
go on. I
okay.
can't come back to the figure she's using, so. Okay,
Oh, well, the amount we approved, right?
I can't, okay. Commissioners, 386 institutional care, 200,000, total request 200,000.
Move to approve?
Okay, Jessica,
Second.
is that you, Larry?
Yes.
I'm gonna get used to your voice, I guess. Okay, Scott, did you tell me the
Yeah, there was some.
finance committee, I missed finance, so.
We did not approve this. This was coming to full council, and Donna, I think the auditor's office was gonna look at possibly whether or not we could take this out of insurance versus just
Okay.
institutional care,
Um,
or out of the general fund.
I took the highest paid month insurance out that we paid this first 7 months, which was 212,143. I took that times 5 for the remaining 5 months of the year, which equals $1,060,717, and currently there's $1,806,756. So the difference would be $746,000. So I think it would be safe to transfer it from health insurance. That's what I was asked.
Now, I guess the question is, we've got a motion on the table to approve.
Well, we can vote no.
Okay. And then for the transfer, would we have to do that next month? Or we could do that
You could go ahead
today?
and make a motion to do the transfer.
Okay, and I think there was maybe some talk about reducing that amount, Ron, is that?
Well, I talked to Commissioner Henry, and they need 100,000 immediately.
Yeah.
And then they're still gonna need 3 more months worth of 30-some thousand a month.
Well, they
So
did.
there's the other 100.
They're going to use
I
it.
think you guys had indicated in finance committee that, that this, you felt like this would get you through the end of the year.
Oh, he's still here. I'm sorry, Shannon, I thought you were gonna leave.
We didn't really talk about a figure that would get us through, the 200 would really get us through the end of the year. quite
That's what I
honestly.
mean, the 200.
I'm holding on to about 50 grand right now of invoices. That would just get us through, the beginning of August.
Okay.
Yeah, Jenny sent me a copy of the invoices and claims and a list of all the different people, which I probably shouldn't say their names out loud, but
Yeah.
she sent me a very comprehensive list of what all the expenses are. And the obvious thing is that, I hate to use the word, but out of desperation, the commissioners signed up for this program to try to keep the volume of visitors down in the jail. And in doing so, that fund didn't have enough money in there to cover this contract.
Well, we discussed too, in fact, some of this has to do with having prisoners out of county, which is the same problem, so.
Yes. And on that note, I want to add, so I just used the most recent community corrections invoice as my example. The jail release program is expensive, but it's actually saving us a lot of money. So the most recent invoice, there are 94 inmates on the program for this month. And combined, that was 2,025 days in a month. Some are there for the full month, some are there for 23 days, 10 days, and so on and so forth. But together, those 94 inmates took up $2,025. Now, the total for this invoice is $33,000 and change. If those 94 inmates were housed out of county at $35 a day, we would be spending over $70,000 a month versus the $33,000 that this invoice is. So this program is really, really helping this county financially.
Are the participants supposed to pay for this?
Good morning, Jane Miranda, Community Corrections. It's my understanding this was in place before I was the director. Pretrial is through the commissioners program. We do have some pretrial programs that are a self-pay, but that's not very many. If they are a direct commitment, actually sentenced to home detention, then yes, they
Then they
pay.
pay, yeah.
Yes.
I wasn't sure.
Okay, so Donna, if we did vote this down, we could move this to transfer today and still be able to cover it? Okay.
My question to the commissioner is do you agree to transfer money out of insurance, health insurance, to cover this? I mean, that's their prerogative.
If Donna, you're saying will be okay?
I'm saying based on the highest paid month, times 5 months that's left in the year, the difference of the balance that's in there and what that, there would be 746,000. So if you took 200,000,
Horizon that you know of?
No, you never know.
yeah.
You have
I
no
mean,
idea.
we've already taken an additional 200,000 out of your insurance account. Remember, like last month, we moved it to health insurance.
Yeah.
So that, based on the highest paid month, that would leave, if you transferred the two, that'd still leave 546,000 in case something happens. And then hopefully at the end of the year, what's left, you could move a couple $100,000 to health insurance fund to help start it out good.
I'm good with that.
So,
What's kind of scared me a little is a couple months ago, we had a meeting that the claims were a little high.
they were, that's why we moved to 200,000.
I understand.
That's why I asked.
But now the money we're talking about transferring is the insurance appropriation
Right.
in the commissioner's budget,
I understand.
not money that's reserved in the
No.
health insurance fund.
This is Commissioner's
And we
budget.
did have a surplus at the end of last year, correct? Remember?
Yeah.
We put some money back to general and
Yes.
put some money back to the
Yeah,
employees fund.
and that's what I think, if we move this 200, that would leave 546, unless we have some kind of catastrophe between now and the end of the year. There would still be, in December, we could look at the balance and hopefully commissioners could still move a couple $100,000 over to the insurance fund. to
So
help
Donna, the
it.
200,000 that you put in the health insurance, you're not taking that
No,
from, okay.
don't have anything to
Take
do
it
with
from the
your,
commissioner's fund.
right. Nothing to do with your money.
You're good.
Okay, thanks, Scott.
So, we need a roll call vote on the motion. And remember, to vote according to discussion.
Mr. Alexander,
No.
Mr. Ballard,
He had some questions.
I've still got some more,
Oh, I'm sorry.
to be honest with you. I guess, did I hear 746 initially? Or
Yeah.
746 initially, and then it came down to 546?
Yeah. You wanna see my paper?
No, I'm trying to keep track of that.
The highest paid month that we had was 2/12/143.55 so far this year. The 200,000. Still. Yeah. Okay.
There'll still be 546,000 left after we transfer the 200 institutions. Okay. So there's still a cushion. It's just, and hopefully there'll be 500,000 cushion.
Yeah, Ryan, there's money estimated each month for the cost of it. If it goes over that, then that takes away from the balance. If it comes under that, then that gives back to the balance.
Okay.
We never know what it's gonna cost. It's just whatever claims come in.
You wanna see it? This is, as of when I ran it Friday, there's $1,806,000 left in the appropriation. Here's the expenses for the year, so I took the highest paid times the last five. We've got 5 months left to be paid, which equals $1,060,000. When you take the $1,060,000 from the balance of the appropriation, that leaves $746,000. I'm saying you can take 200 of that and still there'll be $546,000 left.
To appropriate to this.
No. There'll be if you transfer two, there'll be $546,000 left in that account at the end of the year. Unless one of these months from here till the end of the year goes up a lot higher than this, which basically it shouldn't, but. So I'm saying at the end of the year, after December's paid, there should be around $546,000 left in there. Of that 546, they could transfer a couple $100,000 or more to the insurance fund.
Okay.
We appropriated $3,464,469 for 2019 for health insurance.
This is what we appropriated, very beginning of the year. This is what we spent so far through 7 months, plus an additional $200,000 that we moved. That's the balance as of Friday. We got 5 months left to pay, which is based on the highest number, is this $1,060,000. Which leaves a difference of $746,000.
700,000 or 800,000 in the last year that was left.
785.
Okay. And we put
200,000.
200 in the health reserve fund.
So that's, we're basically on track pretty much with last year. So,
Well, you know, the appropriation for
Well, that's kind of what my question was.
the year before was $3,464,000, same amount. We didn't cut it, so. So I think that's prudent to do that. You okay now?
Yeah, I'm okay now. I'm sorry, I just wanted to clarify a few things.
Well, we need to vote. One way or the other, okay. Vote your head, not your heart, okay?
What's that?
Vote your head, not your heart. You're asking the right questions. See, he's still in training. It's pretty.
Well, I want to ask.
No,
about
sir,
questions.
I'm glad
So
you're
what-
asking questions. I want you
A
to
no
ask
vote
questions.
would cancel this appropriation.
But it has to be appropriated.
Well, then
Well, we're gonna transfer it later on in the meeting, so
Today.
no would allow us to do the
yes,
transfer.
today.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna transfer that same amount out of a different fund, so we don't take it out of general fund.
That's
what
where
Yeah.
I'm at. Okay. I'm fine now.
You still need to vote that.
No.
Mr. Bledsoe.
No.
Ms. Chambers.
I know.
Ms. Lassiter.
Now, wait a minute. Oh, yes, no.
See, we're all.
Yes, no.
I'm not the only one.
Yes, no.
Is that like abstain or?
No.
What was your vote, Jane?
No,
Okay.
no. I couldn't find it. I know Jenny sent it to me because she sent me quite a bit of information, but it seemed like to me there was only like $70,000 paid for out-of-county prisoners so far this year. Is that right? I've lost that invoice that paid somewhere. So it is working, but I've lost the doggone page that had that on it somehow. Thought I had it all again. But anyway, it's a bitter pill to swallow, honestly. It's really tough to think, and you hear the news, and the opioid epidemic's down, but it's not down. Maybe some people think it is, but I just spent a little time in near Panama City, Florida, and they had to build a $50 million room addition to their jail just for female individuals that they didn't have space for this very reason. It's unfortunate. And I heard on the news this morning coming in that Johnson & Johnson just lost a big multi-million-dollar case. But, you know, they'll appeal that, and who knows where it'll go, but at least somebody's looking at it, but they're not making much headway. So, let's move right on. I'm sorry. Too digress.
Okay. Assessor sales disclosures, 393 conference, 1,000, total request 1,000.
Move to approve?
Hi, James.
Second?
Moved by Jessica, second by Scott.
Morning, James.
Any questions from James?
Questions?
Have you already been there?
I have been there, so we'll have a choice.
Better get this paid, huh?
And you passed?
Yes.
Right.
Well, I do testing once, Scott.
Oh.
That's in the certification, that's it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But we have to maintain 45 hours every 2 years.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Ballard,
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Ms. Chambers,
Yes.
Ms. Lassiter,
Yes.
Ms. Piper,
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes.
EMS capital improvement, 221 gasoline, 40,000, 350 utilities, 18,000, copiers, computers, printing equipment, 22,649, total request $80,649.
Move to approve?
Second?
Moved by Jessica, second by Scott. What did the finance committee say on this?
This was approved through finance. I don't know if Jason wasn't there, but he had some capable subs in there for it, so.
Capable sub.
You got anything you want to say?
No, I'll just answer questions if you have.
My comments are ditto. He's already heard all my remarks, more than once.
Understood.
I'll just say ditto. Roll call.
Mr. Ballard,
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Ms. Chambers,
Yes.
Ms. Lassiter,
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
Mr. Alexander.
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes.
Local road and streets, contractual 312, $142,580, total request $142,580.
Move to approve?
Second?
Jessica, second by Scott.
It's a striping contract.
It's a striping contract and, in the meeting, well, you guys are here, you want to say anything about that, or?
Bob Jesse, County Highway. We are trying to get away from doing this ourselves. The liability and the cost is more than what I can contract it out for. So if we contract it, we have a lot of other things we can do with our manpower and paint.
And I think some of the discussion in finance was this is to cover what has already been
Some of it is to
either paved
recover.
or seals code or.
Some of it's to recover, some of it is on new paint.
Okay.
It's like every year you do a certain amount, and next year we'll do the same thing.
How long is the contract?
This is just for this year.
This year?
I know there's somewhat of a different thoughts on this, and I know at one time we had a superintendent that really wanted to do this and bought a pretty nice striping machine and trained the people to do it. But I don't think the kind of equipment that we can afford is nearly as accurate and efficient as those big trucks.
Well, it's not, and the thing is, the paint machine that we have, we work on it every week.
That's what I mean.
And for me to go out and spend $200,000 for a new paint machine is really a waste of money.
Anyone else? Roll call?
Ms. Chambers,
Yes.
Ms. Lassiter,
Yes.
Ms. Piper,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Ballard,
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe,
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the next two have been withdrawn, both on public safety.
Okay.
Ineligible homestead, 198 part-time, 15,000, total request, 15,000.
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved by Larry, second by Jessica. Any questions? Anything on this, Charlie, you want to say? In this auditor?
Yeah,
Yes.
he wants to know if you want to say anything.
No, it's just so we can continue all of our stuff in the plat rooms, what it's for, because that's where we're short-staffed at, doing all the work that we're doing in there with the tax sales and deed sales, so we're.
Okay. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Ballard,
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe,
Yes.
Ms. Chambers,
Yes.
Ms. Lassiter.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes.
Okay, transfer agenda, and whatever you want to write on yours, but I want to go ahead and do the commissioner so we don't forget it.
Sure.
Okay, so, it would be commissioners 173, insurance minus 200,000,
Okay.
386 institutional care plus 200,000.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve as presented?
So moved.
The auditor.
Second.
Okay, we've discussed this. Anybody have any additional? Roll call, please.
Larry.
Yep, Larry.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't call it Larry. Jessica.
Mr. Ballard,
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe,
Yes.
Ms. Chambers,
Yes.
Ms. Lassiter.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
On these correctional officers, if you don't mind, why don't you just read the first one and we'll make the motion as presented. They're all just
So you're
rotating people in and out.
skipping to this one? You're skipping to the addendum then? Okay.
Well, that's the first one on the agenda.
First one on the agenda is the clerk.
Well,
Yeah, you're on the.
oh, I'm on the addendum, I'm sorry.
When we get to the addendum.
Way to go.
When we get to the addendum.
Yeah, so
I'm
hold that thought.
sorry.
First one's the clerk.
Well, shucks.
I like you getting ahead of it, get those games.
Yeah.
Game on.
You want me to read all these? They're all new hires. A128 minus 11,898.25. B125 plus 11,898.25. Oh, wait a minute, I read that. I'm sorry. Regular 128 is minus 11,898.25. A128 plus 11,898.25. B125 minus 8,653.30. C125 plus 8,653.30. Total request zero.
Move to approve? Second.
Moved by Jessica, second by Jane. These are just A to B to C, just where people have left and new came in, correct?
Yep.
Roll call.
Mr. Fowler,
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Ms. Chambers,
Yes.
Ms. Lassiter.
Yes.
Ms. Piper,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes. Yeah, I got it, okay.
Okay. Circuit Court, I'm gonna read both of these.
Okay.
One, that should just say regular, that 114, that A shouldn't be there.
Oh,
Nine,
yeah,
huh,
I wondered about that.
okay, 9,212.32, A 114 plus 9,212.32, total cost 0.
Move to approve?
Hang on, one more.
Oh, sorry. I got it.
160 juvenile probation officer minus 10,755, A 160 plus 10,755, total cost 0.
Now I move to approve.
Moved by Jessica.
Second.
Scott. Mary, we're gonna have to have one from you pretty soon, I'll forget you. Keep me on my toes. Any questions of Emily? Just people moving in and out?
Yes.
Good for longevity, we're all for longevity. You folks in the audience may not know what that means, but we abolish longevity for new hires, so every time somebody leaves, we save money. Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Chambers,
Yes.
Ms. Lassiter.
Yes.
Ms. Piper,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Ballard,
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe,
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes.
Thank you.
Plan Commission 198 part-time minus 1,500, 313 contractual services plus 1,500, total request 0.
Move to approve?
Second.
Moved by Jessica, second by Scott. Questions? Comments? Roll call, please.
Ms. Lassiter,
Yes.
Ms. Piper,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Ballard,
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Ms. Chambers,
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes.
Communication Center, 112 minus $286.56, A 111 minus $3,162.60, A 113 minus $1,768.50, A 115 minus $680, A 131 minus $68, B 111 minus $2,720.84, B 126 minus $408, 198 per time minus $74, G 108 minus $816.71, 196 overtime plus $30,912.21, 173, that should say insurance, not overtime,
I wondered if-
minus 20,000. 364 minus $225, 326 minus $450, 361 minus $257, total request 0.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Larry, second by Jessica. Looks like you folks are just sweeping up the crumbs here and moving them around, right? To cover overtime. Roll call, please.
Ms. Piper,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Ballard,
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe,
Yes.
Ms. Chambers,
Yes.
Ms. Lassiter.
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes. Before I forget, I want to thank Ms. Patterson for coming in on our vacation day to do the council meeting. Appreciate it.
Thank you. It's all right, just as long as we're done by 11. I'm leaving 11. EMS B 181 minus $13,434.34. C 181 plus $13,434.34. Total request zero.
Move to approve?
Second.
Moved by Jessica, second by Larry. Roll call.
Excuse me. Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Ballard,
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe,
Yes.
Ms. Chambers,
Yes.
Ms. Lassiter.
Yes.
Ms. Piper,
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes.
Family support 108B minus 9,500, 108C plus 9,500. Total request zero.
Move to approve?
Moved by Jessica,
Second?
second by Scott. Roll call.
Mr. Ballard,
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Ms. Chambers,
Yes.
Ms. Lassiter,
Yes.
Ms. Piper,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes. Now we've got jail and
We got
sheriff,
jail, sheriff.
and they're all moved except, well, if we go through to the sheriff 129, the second one, they're all just moving people in and out, is that correct?
They're moving people in and out, plus if you notice on the sheriff at the top, it says roll in. That's the 60% that's supposed to follow the person that the adjustments need to be made for. They call it rolling, we call it our 60% adjustment.
Oh, I got you.
But that's what those, where it says roll in, that's
Yeah,
what those
that's
are for.
longevity.
Yeah.
Right.
And then if you go down to the sheriff 104, that should really say. Oh, no.
Well, I'm gonna do that one separate, I just wanted to do
Oh, you wanna
these,
do that one separate?
I was
Okay.
gonna do these others
Okay,
as one motion.
Okay.
If that's okay with the council.
Absolutely.
Sure.
We'll move to approve, jail 145, sheriff 129, sheriff 129.
Not the sheriff,
not the second one.
Not
He
the
just
second
wants to
one,
do the
Just
okay.
those first two.
Jail and the sheriff then,
That's
as
Scott.
presented.
Yes.
Second.
Jessica. Roll call.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Ms. Chambers,
Yes.
Ms. Lassiter.
Yes.
Ms. Piper,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Ballard,
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes.
okay, the next sheriff, okay, the first line should say A 104 minus 668.18 into just plain 104 plus 668.18. Because they're having to transfer money back to the original line.
Well, we need a motion.
So, move to approve?
Second. I think in finance committee, we covered this. There was too much money taken out of that line item and you're just putting it back.
I put it back to cover the final payout for Captain Sheridan for his time.
So this is to correct
An error
a
on previous
miscalculation.
transfer. Yes.
Okay. Any question? Roll call.
Ms. Chambers,
Yes.
Ms. Lassiter,
Yes.
Ms. Piper,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Ballard,
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe,
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes.
Cume Bridge, B 141 minus $8,592. 341 workman's comp plus $8,592.
Move to approve?
Second.
Moved by Jack and who was that second?
Larry.
Larry? Gotcha. I'm gonna miss Ryan, he might slip in on me and I'll miss him. So quiet today.
Don't you like me when I'm a little quieter, though?
Yeah, don't get him started.
Anybody have any questions? Roll call, please.
Ms. Lassiter.
Yes.
Ms. Piper,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Ballard,
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Ms. Chambers,
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes.
Highway, B 142 minus 22,606.96. C 142 plus 22,606.96, 136 minus 11,673.60, 341 workman's comp plus 11,673.60, total request zero.
Move to approve?
Second.
Jessica, second by Scott. Questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Ballard,
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Ms. Chambers,
Yes.
Ms. Lassiter,
Yes.
Ms. Piper,
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes.
Okay, now Ron's addendum. Did you want these all done at the same time?
Yes.
I said now we're going to the addendum that you talked about a minute ago.
And I've lost it.
I'll move for approval of the addendum jail 145 and the other jail 145.
That's really jail lit, public safety.
As presented.
It's in the motion.
Second.
Larry made the motion, Jessica made the second.
Those are all just transfers of personnel.
Change over of personnel, yes. What I see. No corrections or additions to the E's and D's.
No, I don't think so. I think those are all
Okay.
right.
We'll take a roll call, please.
Ms. Piper,
That was a yes.
Mr. Alexander.
Yes.
Mr. Ballard,
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Ms. Chambers,
Yes.
Ms. Lassiter.
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes.
Fair Board 205, office supplies plus 2,000, 210 general supplies plus 3,000, 384 grandstand minus 3,000, 390 security minus 2,000, total request zero.
Move to approve?
Moved by Jessica.
Second.
Second by Scott. Probably want to debate this for a while, won't we?
Call for the question.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Ballard,
Yes.
Bledsoe,
Yes.
Ms. Chambers,
Yes.
Ms. Lassiter,
Yes.
Ms. Piper,
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes. That was just a little fun with Donna. She's the volunteer bookkeeper. Background, she keeps everything straight forward.
Is that everything, Donna?
I
Oh,
think so.
okay.
Larry, you want to do the famous motion?
I'll make a motion to approve financial transfers and amend the salary ordinance with price reduction.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Ballard,
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe,
Yes.
Ms. Chambers,
Yes.
Ms. Lassiter.
Yes.
Ms. Piper,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yeah. We used to do that from memory, Larry, and I haven't put it on the agenda, so.
As soon as I do, I'm gonna screw something.
Okay, now, we're through financial. We're ready for anything on tax abatement, Scott?
Nope.
We got our appointments squared away last. We have a veterans
Pam had to go upstairs for a
job
conference call.
description. Pam had to leave.
I believe you all have a
Rick
copy of that.
agreed to put the hat back on for a minute here. I've got it somewhere. This is a job description for a new position that we created last year at budget time. And by moving from clerk, from human resources to clerk, and the new human resources director, it just was a simple oversight that this didn't get completed, and so they're just bringing this up to date. So that's kind of why I think Rick is involved a little bit, but also.
I'll move for the approval of the job description.
Second.
Moved by Larry, second by Jessica. Anybody have any questions?
Is that a resolution? for an ordinance?
We're just approving a job description.
We're just approving the job description. Okay,
Mhm.
all right.
For the record. Mm-hmm.
Just thinking we'll saw that come through. All right.
Roll call.
Ms. Chambers,
Yes.
Ms. Lassiter,
Yes.
Ms. Piper,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Ballard,
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe,
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush,
Yes. I assume you all received that. I had her send it out again yesterday. Be sure, because I didn't have it. Now I can't find it, but I did have it. Okay, moving right along. Part-time ordinance for coroner. This is something that is somewhat required by the Board of Accounts, is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, it's been requested by the Board of Accounts that, this is the way we've always paid. Usually, I can't even think of his name, the coroner before. God.
Scott.
Let's say past quarters, there we go. Always paid it twice a year. And we never really had anything backing up why we paid it this way. So Board of Accounts suggested to Rick that he get this updated, and so it's basically telling you how he pays $100 per coroner case, 25 for non-coroner, and we pay it out of part-time. I mean, this is nothing that different than what we've been doing. We just have something for the Board of Accounts to back us up on why it's turned in on payroll. Rick's gonna do it monthly instead of biannually. So we're correcting something the Board of Accounts wants us basically to have something to back us up on why it's paid the way it is.
I guess before we discuss it, we need a motion to approve
What's the number on that? I don't know.
2019.
028. Oh, for the ordinance?
Yes.
017.
017. Okay. We have a motion to approve this.
So moved.
Second.
It'll have to be introduced.
Yeah, it's an
For
ordinance, so
introduction,
you have to do a
correct.
first reading.
Yes, I'll move to introduce.
Second.
And then second by Brian. Got it. Okay. Questions, discussions? I didn't totally understand the way this has been done in the past. I kind of remember that at the end of the year, we kind of appropriated the money that was left over and you divided it up among the
Well, it's pretty much the same
participants.
thing.
Is that?
But this has changed to a per call basis now versus just.
It was always a.
It's always been.
It's always been a per
Per
call
call.
basis. Now, things I want to pay it monthly so that it gives more incentive to the deputies to take the shifts and to help, because now they're getting money monthly as opposed to whenever, they don't know.
Past corners always did it
Past corners.
biannually.
Yeah.
I
Plus
don't know
it
why,
helps,
that's-
plus going monthly, it helps me keep a little better eye out on the fund and what's in there and everything.
So Rick, basically the only thing that's changing is when you're paying them. This
Yeah.
is just a formality that we have to
Yes.
have. Correct?
This is a formality through the Board of Accounts that suggested us to have.
So on a yearly average, we shouldn't be out any more extra money at all.
Shouldn't be. No.
Just.
You know, and it'll, I mean, a lot of it depends on cases too.
Right, absolutely, I'm just going on an average.
Yeah.
Can you explain the difference in between the 100 and the 25?
A coroner's case is a case that the coroner is actually involved in the investigation on. A lot of times we will get calls in reference to cases that are not something that we need to be involved in on the investigation. The doctor's willing to sign. They've been in the hospital for an extended period of time, things like that, but they still call us. Usually it's in the middle of the night and wake us up and want us to come or do a consultation with them and everything else like that. You know, they're on call, they can't make any plans, they're stuck, you know, here with their family, and it is something that they're called about a lot of times. A coroner's case will be actually, we will actually be needed to respond to the scene. We'll actually be needed to order autopsies, make notifications, that type of thing.
I think what it counts is big on internal controls.
Yes.
So I think this is just an internal control.
Do you participate in this as well? I mean, if you
No.
personally go out on a call?
No, I don't charge you on the call. You guys
Okay,
have a
all
salary.
right, I didn't know whether that was on there. And-
Which is too low, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah,
And same with the chief deputy, there is a line item salary for him also. So this is just for the deputy coroners who take on calls periodically.
and I think in the past, they've paid mileage maybe too, is
Yeah,
that
and
still?
mileage is a totally separate thing, yes.
But this doesn't change any of that?
No.
Okay. This isn't gonna cost significantly more than what you're currently
This
doing?
This is what's been done in the past, what's still being done. Now there's just an ordinance that solidifies that's what you're paying.
Okay.
We need to suspend the rules.
Does that have to be done today?
We would like board
Yeah.
meeting,
Steve would like it today.
Okay.
just so we can take a copy of.
Move on,
Word pen.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But right now, you just have a motion to introduce.
Right. Anybody else have any questions? I don't know who worded this, you do this? Says may be paid out at the discretion of the coroner, but then has to be paid monthly.
Well, the discretion of the coroner would be what kind
Is
of
who
case it
gets
is.
what, based on the calls?
Based on
Yeah.
the case.
It's on the case.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Okay.
Suspend the rules.
No,
We gotta do first reading first.
This is introduction.
Ms. Chambers,
Yes.
Ms. Lassiter,
Yes.
Ms. Piper,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Ballard,
Yes.
Bledsoe.
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes. Now I need an ordinance, or I mean an ordinance, I need a,
I'll move for suspension
motion.
of the rules for ordinance 2019-017.
Second.
Larry's doing this before.
Time or two.
Okay,
Bless you.
roll call, please.
Ms. Lassiter,
Yes.
Piper,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander.
Yes.
Mr. Ballard,
Yes.
Bledsoe,
Yes.
Ms. Chambers,
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes. And for the record, that takes a unanimous vote for that to happen. That's why council doesn't do it very often.
I'll move for approval of ordinance 2019-017.
Second.
Larry motion, Brian
Brian.
second. Roll call.
Excuse me, paper's still together. Ms. Piper,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander.
Yes.
Mr. Ballard,
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe,
Yes.
Ms. Chambers,
Yes.
Mr. Lassiter,
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank
Now we have another, a resolution based on clerk's request to have Delaware County designated as a vote center entity.
This is one step in the procedure
What's the number?
of moving toward vote centers.
2019-02A.
028,
Uh-huh.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2019-028.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Spangler?
Yes, this is one step in the procedure of moving toward becoming a boat center county. We have to have the approval of the county council. We have to have the resolution by the county council, resolution by the commissioners before we can even move forward with our plan, take to the state, and then finally the vote will come by the election board for the final decision. We're working on it very hard.
Anyone have questions or comments, opinions?
At this point in time, you guys don't, I guess let me ask, is there a plan in place?
We're currently
for boat centers?
preparing the plan, but there's really no sense in us presenting a plan until we get these approvals. That's on down the line, next step.
Have you got any other approvals besides us at this point, or?
Nope, you're first.
Okay. All right.
Anyone else? Roll call.
Ms. Piper?
Yes.
Mr. Alexander?
Yes.
Mr. Ballard?
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe?
Yes.
Ms. Chambers?
Yes.
Ms. Lassiter?
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush?
Yes. Okay, I have a request from Communications Center Director to talk about extension of contract. Paul, it's all yours.
Good morning, Council. Paul Singleton, Director of 911. Earlier in the year, the commissioners gave me approval to apply for a federal grant to, that would pay for major upgrades in our center. Well, that grant has been approved. And Mary Ritter from Ritter Strategic Services has put together a document that explains how the money needs to come about. We're hopeful to get the contract signed this year. We have asked AT&T to send us a revised contract that fits what's going on with the state 911 board. When we get that, we will give that to the county legal and let them do their thing, and then that will be up to the commissioners to agree. Even if we sign the contract this year, there'll be no payment due on this project until it's completed, which the earliest it could be completed is the end of the first quarter of next year, but probably more likely 6 months or so into next year. So if I could, I'd pass these out, and this details what the plan is. It's front and back. This is a reimbursement grant. So the county will be responsible, and the commissioners have signed off on that the county will be responsible for the initial payment. The county Delaware County would receive a 60% reimbursement on this project, what has been approved. The project goes above what the Indiana 911 board has approved, and I have included some money for backup equipment for that's not going to go into the basement of the Justice Center, because that place is, I don't know what's going to happen to that in the future. But I've been putting together an emergency backup plan that includes all mobile equipment. So if, God forbid, something happens, our center gets taken out, or there's some kind of disaster, we can actually go on site with this equipment and what I already have in place. And we can either dispatch from on site of a disaster, or if our building gets taken out, we can go set up anywhere that we have internet access. And with the new cellular hookups, we can pretty much do that anywhere. One of the reasons that I'm pushing for this is to coincide with the EOC's emergency plan for Delaware County with the extra equipment. And also, a couple of years ago, we all know that the tornado went through and took out part of Muncie Central and went to Yorktown, and that missed us by 2 or 3 blocks. And our building is not built to sustain a tornado hit. So that's why it's important that we replace the equipment we have, which is 10 years old, and it'll put us in good shape for the next 10 years. And as you can see, that'll also save the county over fees that the state is going to pick up $722,000 in fees. As part of this project, the state's going to pick up some of the fees and some of the expenses that we have had. I have a portion that I've been saving back from our capital payments that I'm going to include into this payment. And the hope is that we can pay for this in a lump sum. And if we do that, we won't have any capital payment or interest payment over the next 10 years, which in itself will save quite a bit of money. So if you see, the total project is $1,395,000. And out of that, the state will reimburse $360,000. And
About 630,000.
yes, 630,000. And then out of my state 911 budget, I have $350,000, which I can put towards that. So the biggest thing is going to be figuring out how to pay for this initially. And then some of that money will come back in. So this is the preliminary stages. I wanted to make the council aware of this. I'm not asking you to find me that money today. It's just to make you aware that the commissioners have advised me to proceed on this project.
Now, Ms. Page, the way this reads, we actually have to come up with an appropriation of $1,395,000 initially.
Right.
And the grant money comes back.
Right, minus my 350 that I'm
The
gonna put.
350 is already in-house?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that is in-house. That's in my state.
$1,050,000. Roughly speaking, million.
Right.
You have to come up with the whole $1,395,000 to start with.
Right.
To find somewhere.
That's what I've asked, yeah.
Right, but I'm gonna put
But
in
then you'll show
350,000 of that. So then the county's gonna have to come up with.
But if he has 350,000, which I'm assuming is already in an appropriation, you need an appropriation for $1,045,000.
Yeah.
Because his 350 is already in an appropriation, right?
I have not moved it. There has not been a fund established yet, but I have that money in.
I thought you said you had it in your 911 budget.
I do have it.
It'll be paid directly from there. You won't
Okay.
move it to another fund.
Okay. I didn't know whether.
Yeah, you'll pay that portion out of your
Okay.
budget.
I didn't know whether that needed to be moved into a project fund.
No, you can't do that.
Does it remain in the operating balance
No, he
of
has,
911?
he has an appropriation, he said. In his 911 budget.
What page is 911?
But you've got Fund 1222 appropriation, it's already there
Yes.
in an appropriation?
That money is sitting in that state 911 account.
But not in an appropriation.
It hasn't been moved, no.
Okay.
It is in the,
Cash only.
just maybe I'm not understanding terms, but it is, I have that much money that I can take that out of that budget. My actual budget for that is $850,000 for my state 911, but I have money above that to cover this.
Right, in your cash, okay.
Yes.
So he does need to make additional appropriation at some point out of the 911 fund,
Well, that's what I thought.
$350,000.
Yeah, to make sure it's
Well, the way
available, right?
I was reading this, it was already there, but it's not.
Right.
So he'll do that appropriation, so then we've gotta find somewhere to pay the $1,045,000.
Right.
And when, my understanding, the commissioners agreed to pay it out of edit, right?
That was the initial
That was the initial thought.
plan. But this has been going on for so long, I don't know if that money's still there, so.
My question would be on that edit, since the project for the jail and some other things, that we have to have confirmation of that part.
Right. That's why they wanted me to proceed now on this project, because in the future, that edit money will be tied up with the jail.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, but there's bonds coming off in 2021 on some of that, will free up some of it.
Sure.
This is, I mean, but I know the next 6 months to a year is kind of squeezed, but.
Right.
That 2020 anyway.
Yeah, I don't know if the commissioners were gonna pay the, what's on here is county funds obligated, $450,000. Somebody has to come up with the $415,000 that's not gonna be reimbursed or not gonna be.
Right.
If they initially paid the whole $1,045,000 out of the edit, I told Paul the other day, I have no project right now to pay that out of. First thing that have to happen is they have to amend the edit plan, set up a project to pay the $1,045,000. Then decide if they're gonna eat the $415,000 or if somebody else is gonna give us the $415,000 to reimburse edit. So there's like
Is any of that
little steps
reimbursable
that's gonna
by the
happen.
city, or?
No.
No.
Okay.
No, the money that, well,
This is 911, this isn't communication center.
right, the money that I take out of my state 911 account, that $350,000, we don't bill the city for any of that.
That's total
As-
county income.
As far as any other money that would get spent on 911, I think currently there is an interlocal agreement in place where they can, that the city can at least be asked for, whether they'll pay 50% of the balance or not. So that's between the commissioners and the city. Knowing that 911 interlocal expires in November. So are we gonna get anything back from the city? Probably not. So I'll let Barry.
Is there a, is there a lease option for this project, or a lease purchase option that would make sense, I guess, would be the qualifier?
Well, a capital payment, there is that capital payment option where we would pay yearly, but then you're talking about interest, and so that cost is going to be more. So that's why we were hoping to pay this in a lump sum where we wouldn't have to worry about it after we got this paid, especially with the reimbursement.
Is the grant upfront money or reimbursable grant?
Reimbursable grant. And that money
That's
is.
what I thought, I mean, that's what I
Right.
had in my mind.
And that
We're gonna
money
pay it out.
is, my understanding, that money is in the hands of the state 911 board now. So.
You just have to file a
It
claim.
would just be a matter of filing a claim with them once we got a final bill.
Great, okay. That's how a lot of them work like that.
That's a two-step process where upon expenditure.
What's your name?
State your name,
Sign
please.
in, please.
Hi, I'm Barry Ritter, co-founder of RSS, 911 consultant for the commissioners. The federal grant is a two-step process in that once the county certifies that the funds have been expended through the invoice, copy of the claim, copy of the check, the state 911 board, they then seek reimbursement from the National 911 program. We did this back in the mid-2000s, and it took about 90 days for a county to
Get the reimbursement.
get the reimbursement.
Yeah, they're not real fast.
By the time it goes from the feds to the
Yeah.
state and then the state back to the county. AT&T does offer the 10-year lease option, but when you look at the percentage that is charged through that capital lease, it becomes cost prohibitive, and some of the savings that you would experience through the charges that the state 911 board is taking on through their contract with AT&T, it makes it reasonable to look at a upfront payment and not be paying that long-term lease interest.
And when we applied for this grant, we are at a place where our current equipment is many, many years old. And it's not manufactured anymore, and if they have to replace major components, they have to go out and find them. So this will put us in good shape for the next 10 years, because as part of this contract, there is a 5-year equipment refresh where at 5 years they come in and put all new equipment in. So it'll just put us in great shape for the future. Our radios are new, this will be new, our new phone system, new statewide radio system, our building's in great shape. It'll just be a good thing for Delaware County.
Does any of what's going on with EMS and how you guys are gonna handle that, does any of this have anything to do with that at all, or?
It does not.
Okay, and then at the end of November, where are we at? Or at the beginning of November, wherever that contract is up, do we know?
The interlocal agreement you're
Yeah,
talking about?
right.
The interlocal agreement will be null and void, and everything will fall back to Delaware County. Delaware County, that's for the legal team to figure out what that means, but city will have no more vested interest. The 911 board goes away. There will be no representation from the different agencies. So it's my understanding it would fall back under the control of the commissioners.
Under the county after November, so.
That additional 1 point, whatever.
With no reimbursement
With
from
no
the city,
reimbursement
right?
incentive.
Yes.
And
We'll no
that-
longer dispatch the city either, right?
Commissioner said we will, for the time being, if that expires, we'll do business as usual. There is a mandate on 911 calls since we receive fees off of telephones, that we still have to relay calls. So we'll still have to do something.
Well, you have to do the 911 part.
Yeah, right. So depends on, that's up to someone to direct me on how we're going to proceed. But the commissioners have said, when that expires, it's business as usual, business as normal.
Except for the reimbursement, which we need to be prepared.
Well,
that-
during budget hearings, I mean, if you proceed as normal, I guess you'd say, and then approve that budget the way it's been presented, and then we find out in November, we've lost the interlocal agreement, you're gonna have to go in and cut his budget $1 million, so.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
We have to be prepared.
Yes.
Worst case scenario.
And I'm gonna be dispatching the same number of calls, we're gonna have the same volume in, so I don't know where you're gonna.
Me neither.
Most of my budget is for personnel.
Right.
So,
But you'll have to cut it $1 million, you'll have to cut somebody $1 million either his budget or somebody else's to cover his, but right now I'm considering everything is normal, and he's given me revenue to offset his budget based on the 50% reimbursement, but if that goes away, then that revenue's gone, so you're gonna have to cut something, and I'm using $1 million.
You cut $1 million out of my
revenue,
budget, I might
Yeah.
as well put a
Right.
close sign.
But it's
Well,
gotta happen
yeah,
somewhere.
I wouldn't advocate we were cutting, I was
Yes.
saying we would have $1 million problem in a sense of county budgeting as far as.
Exactly, I mean, yeah, you definitely would have to cut that from.
But is there any chance of extending that to the first of the year till a new administration takes over?
I made a suggestion at the last 911 board meeting that they extend that to the first of the year to let the new mayor address it.
Okay.
I have also, both mayoral candidates have spoken with me about 911. They want to see what it is and, you know, what we do. And I have asked them if there's any way if they can push to get that extended. So, and I can't speak for either candidate, but I am hopeful that after the first year, there would be something renegotiated.
I would probably agree on that too. I would like to talk to you more about that, but I won't take up the time in the meeting right now to do that.
Yeah.
Steve,
So,
thank you.
again, this is informational of what's coming.
Well, I want to say one thing. I was involved in the original negotiations with the city in the mid-80s. And the city was going to supply, in the original agreement, half the staff of the communications center. And at that time, the 911 money was collected locally. And then about 6-7 years ago, the state took that away from us and started divvying it out under their formula. But at the last minute, when the communications center opened, there was a verbal agreement that caused all this turmoil within this program, that it wasn't prudent to have people sitting in the same room under two different jurisdictions for payrolls. So they combined it, and the city agreed to
Different
pay
benefits
half.
and possibly different payroll, and
Right,
I
and
agree with
that was done without an amendment to that interlocal agreement. And then we had a mayor that got a burr in her bonnet and decided that the agreement wasn't up to snuff, and we got to where we are now. And that is impossible for the county to take this burden on 100% financially. I mean, it's just not possible. There's a lot of things that transpired, mainly the circuit breaker and the interest rates that we got on investments. Those two items are costing the county somewhere between $10 and $15 million a year.
And I think
And we're still operating the government the best we can. But this would be a hit that we.
Right. And my total budget is somewhere 2.3, 2.4 million. And that includes both, that's paid for, basically a third of it comes from the 911 fees.
Right.
And then the city and the county, even though it says 50-50, they're paying a third and a third. So.
And when the commissioners purchased the library annex and moved all that equipment, the county paid for every dime of that.
And that building, to my understanding, should be paid off in a couple of years.
But this.
I think we have one payment.
One.
Yeah, I was talking to the
one-
library
one
secretary the other day.
payment left?
I think so.
But that isn't in the budget.
Right.
It's a separate account that covers that.
Yeah. Commissioners pay it out.
So it's above, it's above me on some of the control on this. I'm just trying to do what we believe is best for the 911 center and to put us in the best position for the next several years. I've said all along, directors are temporary, we come and go, and my goal is to leave that a better place than when I got it. And if we can upgrade the phone system and do that, like I said, for many years, we'll be in a better spot.
And I don't disagree with that, and I appreciate you bringing the information forward. I'm just not sure with where things lie until after the first of the year. That a big decision like that.
Which is good, this won't have to be paid for till end of the first quarter, but I'm looking probably midway through 2020 before it's actually done and cut over, before we ever have to think about paying, but we've got to have that figured out, obviously, before then. So we have time.
On that note, on time though, too, I mean, if we're gonna ask it joint with the commissioners that to do update that, and there's gotta be leeway to announce that, you know, notifications and that all being said, and maybe, I don't know, TIF, they would consider TIF as a help with the 450,000 or not, I don't know, that'd be something with them to have conversations with redevelopment commission. I'm just throwing financial ideas out there. I mean, that'd be somebody to approach the commissioners.
Good thought, Larry. Well, because we're not gonna be able to come up with it, that's for sure.
Right. But that process takes 4 months. I mean, 90 days, but you may as well figure it.
So I'm available anytime you want to continue this and look a little closer at it. I didn't want to take up too much time today. I just wanted to introduce it to you and make you aware that everything's been approved.
Appreciate it.
This is my third round on this. I was on the original equipment, and then I was worked with Jim St. Meyer when he was commissioner to do what you're doing now with the equipment you've been using since his term. And this one has got my mind boggled. I'm looking for answers, but I'm not finding any in my first initial
Well, that's why
conversation with you.
That's why I'm bringing it to you now instead of waiting till I have a bill in hand.
Because actually, the commissioners pretty much covered this in the past financially, but we're still obligated to appropriate $1,045,000 up front before we're eligible to get any of that back from anybody. And how we do that with the funds we have to work with, I think Larry's got the only idea right now that I've heard that is hopefully a possibility. Or economic development along that same line, that's all under control of the commissioners.
All right. Well, I've got a 11 o'clock meeting, so.
I'm getting ready to go, so I need to do this.
I'll just leave us.
So I'm available anytime. Scotty, so if
Okay.
you want to talk later.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. And Don.
I lost my agenda.
Tax caps.
Don will keep going straight for the next 10 minutes.
Go
We
ahead,
need to
Don.
talk about the tax caps and maximum levies 2020, and I sent them all to you guys last month sometime to review. I will tell you, when I went to my state budget here, or state budget workshop, and I was glad Steve went with me, I was in total panic over the estimated property tax caps, because we were gonna lose almost an additional $1 million in county general, and so just county general one, that's not counting the others. So when we went to the workshop, I told him before we did anything, I wanted to talk about tax caps, because we were going to get hit really hard. So, and I asked him, why did it go up so much? So Anyway, he said that this guy that used to be, you know, I mean, they come and go down there anymore like flies, but the guy that used to be there had been there forever. He had his formulas all, that he worked on all the tax caps. And since he left, nobody could figure out his system. And it was like 100 different pages to go through to figure out how he estimated tax caps. So they way overestimated the tax caps. And so at the workshop, he had me redo the tax caps. And so it went from 7.6 million total county, 7.6 million, which is on the papers I sent you,
Right here.
down to 6.7 million. So county general then went from 6.7 million down to 5.9. So we saved like $800,000 just in county general property tax cap losses per.
5.9 million.
Yeah. So that made me feel a lot better because I thought, I mean, there was 800,000 we saved, and so I guess my point I'm getting to, that all these tax caps that I sent you, that's everybody in the county, which you're going to make your recommendation on, they're all overestimated because nobody down there knew how to do this at the time all these had to be sent out. The other sheets that I sent are the maximum levies for each unit that you just need to review. And so you have to make a, which I brought last year's. You have to make a recommendation or a non-recommendation, and then I have to send it out to the units. I have to send them a copy of these board minutes, so they know what your recommendation was, pretty much. But last year, you guys, the motion last year was to approve no recommendations for maximum levies or property tax caps. That's basically what I need, unless you guys want to go in and tell somebody you're cutting their maximum levy or.
I'll make a motion that we provide no recommendations for maximum levies and property tax.
I'll second.
A motion on the floor.
I think back when these first came out, Donna, we kind of went through a couple years there where we did if they'd gone over a certain percentage, then we had them come in, but they basically, I mean, the story was that they
Well, that was
turned in
back
their
when you had to do the, yeah, the law's changed since then.
Yeah.
But you're right, we used to, oh, I can't think of what I want to call it now.
Well, I think with what you've just told us, I mean, those numbers for the tax cap impact are gonna go down on all those units that go.
Right, and I'm assuming just like me, when everybody had their budget workshop, he went in and adjusted everybody's tax caps that we have to figure the budgets on. I would assume he did that for everybody like he did for the county.
So what we're looking at right here wouldn't reflect that
No.
change, right?
No,
Yeah,
these are
okay.
what were given to me before any recommendations to change it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But just for information, the city of Muncie's 19,765,340.
Right, and that, I would assume theirs went down some too, because these were all overestimated tax caps according to my budget filled rep.
Or even if it went down 10%, it'd still be $18 million.
Yeah, theirs is high.
So I think there's a reason
So
for that.
I was glad Steve went with me this year so he could hear what he had to say too, so. Because I was in a panic when I just couldn't believe how.
Well, I was kind of in a
Yes.
panic because you also told me that the state's estimate on lit money is going down next year. Tax caps are going up, lit money is going down. We're not gonna have as much money next year as we had this year.
County General loses in lit next year, which is called certified shares for County General. And public safety went up, but $9,000, that's all. I mean, it got a whole lot more. So oh, you made the motion, didn't you? Okay.
Yeah, we have a motion on the floor and I have 5 minutes to get it done.
Yeah, I'm going, so you guys can make your,
Are you finished?
yes,
Everything you need? Anybody question the banana?
I just need to vote.
This has been a pretty big package this month. We've got everybody informed. Roll call, please.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Ballard,
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Ms. Chambers,
Yes.
Ms. Lassiter,
Yes.
Ms. Piper,
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes.
I'll be back Thursday if anybody needs anything, otherwise I'll see
Okay,
you.
are the books down there where I can find mine? My books, or my book?
It's right beside my desk down on the floor.
Donna sent it to me on the computer, but it's a little hard to read. All that stuff on the computer. It's based on my little computer. Okay, now we need some remarks or questions or anything from the audience. State your name, please, and your address. For the record.
Good morning. My name is Margaret Nickham. I live at 3401 North Cowing Park Lane in Muncie. And Vernon and I are here as facilitators for the Muncie 912 Tea Party.
And I'm Vernon Beal, and I'm 3220 West 29th Street.
We are here very briefly to speak to a challenge by one of our founding fathers. September 17th is Constitution Day, and schools are required to teach on the Constitution on that day. And so we wanted to provide, we wanted to address Benjamin Franklin's quotation as he came out of the Constitutional Convention. And that was a citizen, a lady, walked up to him and said, "What kind of government do we have?" And Mr. Franklin said, "A republic, if you can keep it." And so I yield to Mr. Beal.
Okay, we have copies of the Constitution that we want to present to all of you in hopes that you can refer to them in the needs of obeying the United States Constitution. And hopefully a lot of other people who are serving in our government will also do the same as we approach Constitution Day. So I'll present each one of you one of these.
Thank you very much.
We also would invite you to attend any of our Muncie 912 Tea Party meetings. We meet the second and fourth Mondays of each month at the Kennedy Library.
Thank you.
You're always welcome.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for the time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I just received an email from a friend that pointed out that one of our congresspersons made the statement that none of the founding fathers were born in the United States of America. And it listed the number of our founding fathers and where they were born. That's how intelligent our Congress people are educated on this little fella right here. I thank you. I have a copy of this. I haven't looked at it for a long, long time. I'm not even sure I know where it is because I moved a little while back. So I need this. Thank you very much.
I have a comment.
Pardon?
I have a comment.
Go right ahead.
Sure. So I want to just take an opportunity to thank Molly and the Extension for providing us with state fair tickets. I actually went 3 times because I love fairs, and I love Purdue. But so much that goes on both locally at the fair and at the state fair, and it's so fun to see all my friends' kids posting all their pictures with their little sheep or whatever animals they're showing. And obviously I always like to look at the home canning section because that's dear to my heart, but I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks.
Someone else? Molly, want to say something? Go right
Really
ahead.
quick, I know we're at the end, so I didn't want to take up any agenda time today, but on the topic of fair, I did provide everybody with a handout that has this year's local county fair report out with our number of projects and our number of traditional 4-H youth. So if there are any questions, you can direct those towards me. And just thank you again for all your support through both fair seasons.
Well, you're up there. Thank you for the monthly reports that you've been sending out, but I've also, I think 3 or 4 different people from the community have stopped me and said, wow, I can't believe what all the extension service does in the community. I just got one last night. Somebody came up to me and I think last week as well, and it's not just the fair. And that's kind of, I think, some of the opinion of a lot of us that thought, well, that's all you guys do is the fair, and that's not it. So I appreciate your monthly updates.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we probably ought to get you more acquainted with the Farm Bureau. They have an annual meeting. It'd be nice for you to attend. That's where he was last night.
Yeah, it's amazing. I attend the National Extension Conference for my business, and it's so much more than just 4-H. They have resources for family planning, resources for how to manage your finances. It's pretty impressive.
And I think Molly is going to be doing double duty now, since Joel is no longer with us. So any help we can give to Molly, we need
Joel
to.
transfer?
Big pardon?
Joel,
I didn't know. Sorry.
Joel is no longer with the university.
Woman or?
I didn't know that.
Effective August 23rd.
Okay.
And she says it'll probably take her 4 months.
Yeah, I was just here for that. Yeah, so according to university policy, we have to pay out all vacation before we are, it's basic business practice before we're able to post the position for hire. So as soon as it's posted, I will share it with you. It will be posted as a bachelor's, master's preferred.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Got anything, Ryan?
Well, I can't find my agenda. I lost it.
Well, you're on the president's remarks.
I know, like I'm happy. Here it is right here.
German's right.
President's remarks. Had an unfortunate mishap last month, the night prior to the meeting, so I wanted to thank you guys all for carrying on the meeting. Proud that you did it. I've been here a long time and made me feel real good that it went along pretty well without a hitch. And thanks Scott for picking it up on a short notice, but I'm still wearing a brace, but I couldn't make it. Thank you all very much. That's all I have. Anyone else?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Hey, Marta.